Steve, I'm excited. You know why I'm excited?
And why are you excited today?
I'm excited because we're changing this up a little bit. I think it's going to be really fun. We are going to audio. We're not leaving video behind. We're doing video. We'll always be doing video. It's such a fun way to do it every Friday live at 2 p.m. But we're going to be turning the tables a little bit and making these available through podcasting platforms. We've heard a lot of feedback recently, a lot of in-person meetings and people saying, we want to be able to listen to this on podcasts too. So it's going to be a thing. Thanks to you, Steve. We've upgraded so many cool things here in the studio to make that possible and make it sound good. I mean, they still have to listen to my voice, but you're on a mic too. So if they, here's the thing, you can't take it over. If they like you better than me, can I still sit here?
Well, no, but I can make, I'm actually kind of quiet here. No, but I can make you just be silent so you can't say anything.
And I'm just, there we go. Then I'm back. Okay. Welcome to MedTech Crossroads, everybody. We're going to have fun. We're going to keep mixing it up. The content's not changing, though. We are still talking about upcoming events, FDA news, and then a special feature every week. This week, it's going to be MEDICA Highlights number 3 from the MEDICA trade show in Dusseldorf, Germany. But let's do the upcoming events first. We keep culling through so many sources. We're going to have to hire somebody to cull through sources because we're looking at the MEDC calendar. We're looking at the MISH-Bio calendar. We added some events from Project MedTech recently. The Regulatory Affairs Professional Society, Ann Arbor Spark, the U.S. Food and Drug Administration. We'll keep growing that list to bring you upcoming events. But let's get to them because our friends at MedTech Innovator, they still have applications open for their MedTech Innovator program, their BioTools Innovator program, and their Asia Pacific MedTech Innovator program due January 31st, so you're almost out of time. Those of you who are watching on video, you can scan the QR code. All of these events, if you're watching on video, have a QR code associated with it, so just scan it with your phone and you can get connected to those events. The FDA is hosting a webinar about electromagnetic compatibility of in vitro diagnostic devices. Now, if you're building an electromechanical or electro-optical device of any kind, this could be of interest because when you go out there to get that thing tested and you discover that it won't take the electrical perturbations that they hit against it in test labs, you're going to be disappointed and going back to the well to do redesign. So this should be a very interesting webinar on February 2nd, just a few days away from the FDA. Ann Arbor Spark, MISH-Bio, and others are putting on the A2 Biosocial at Pretzel Bell, Tuesday, February 7th in Ann Arbor. Great place for the local community to get together. February 7th through 9th, MD&M West, one of the big trade shows in Anaheim, California, will be there along with MEDC. They are hosting another trade delegation to the MD&M West trade show. And people sometimes ask, well, what's the difference between a show like MD&M or some innovation showcase or something like the AdvaMed show, which is also coming up this year? And MD&M West is really focused on components, vendors, services, etc. Whereas something like MEDICA that we were just at, while those are there, it's very much the companies showing their wares. And as we're going to show you a video later today, my interview with Maci Gilmore, this was an amazing trade show that we went to in MEDICA in November. But if your company is thinking about what is going to a trade show like, what is it like to exhibit our product, you're going to get a little behind the scenes with Maci in the video segment later today. What does it take to get a booth up? What are some of the things that you want to be thinking about? So hope you enjoy that coming up. Also from FDA, the application of artificial intelligence and machine learning for precision medicine. All that promise of we're going to customize medicine for you. It's great, but there's a lot of pitfalls. FDA is doing a webinar on February 17th. And Biomedical Innovation 101 from Fast Forward Medical Innovation at the University of Michigan, Department of Internal Medicine also. They have a series going on all through February. The next installment February 1st, Diagnostic Technologies. Our own Adrienne Harris will be on that webinar. On February 15th, the day after Valentine's Day, Biomedical Device Development. She will be talking with Brad Martin about some projects that we've gotten to work on. Then back to Mish Bio. Mish Bio is hosting this really cool thing. It's a virtual coffee break, IP and legal. So if you want to bring some of your questions about IP and legal, Mish Bio is going to have some of their lawyer friends on this time to try to answer your questions. What a great session. This is February 14th, Valentine's Day, from 11 a.m. to 11:30 a.m. And then the Regulatory Affairs Professional Society, talking about software as a medical device, or SAMD, 21st of February through the 22nd. This is a virtual program. There is a cost associated with it. But if you are thinking about building software as a medical device, this could be a really good session to go to. Cybersecurity in person in Europe. I don't know how many will make the trip, but RAPS is hosting an in-person cybersecurity conference, 23rd to 24th of February. And hot off the press from Mish Bio, they are doing another legislative fly-in to Washington, D.C. I went on one of these in 2016 with Stephen Rapundelow, the head of Mish Bio, and it completely changed my perspective about our government, about industry, about how we all work together. So this is a fascinating thing. I believe it's early March. We don't have the date on the slide. Just got this information. It's not even up on their website yet, but you can email them through that QR code if you're watching online, if you want to get connected to the legislative fly-in, either from a medical device perspective or from a drug and bio perspective. Those are two fly-ins that are happening in the near future. And back to RAPS, Regulatory Affairs Professional Society, a webcast. This one's free. MDR by the numbers on 23rd of February. If you know MDR, it's the medical device regulation in Europe, and it is quickly dismantling how things are done, and not for the better. So you get some cold, hard numbers from the RAPS webcast. We will try to bring you some of that too. If you don't get to attend that through RAPS, we'll try to bring you some of those numbers. MedTech Strategist is hosting its Innovation Summit in Dublin, Ireland, Europe's largest medical device partnering and investment conference, April 25th through 27th. And AdvaMed is putting a series of submissions workshops on in May 15th through the 25th on 510K, IDE, and PMA. So if you want to learn more about that, right in the middle to end of May, AdvaMed has you covered. Our friends over at Project MedTech, I just got to meet Dwayne Mancini in person the other week, thanks to John Siemens over at the University of Michigan Biomedical Venture Fund. He, great connector, John there. Thank you, John. Put Dwayne and I together, and it's really interesting what Project MedTech is trying to do. They do run a podcast, and it's a nationwide podcast. They also put events together. They're having a Midwest showcase in August in Cleveland, Ohio. So that should be a cool event. I'll tell you in a second about another event they're running. But first, the MedTech conference is coming up October 9th through 11th in Anaheim, California. So the Anaheim Convention Center is getting lots of business this year. But back to Texas, Project MedTech is running the Startup Symposium along with TMC, the Texas Medical Center, October 25th and 26th in Houston, Texas. The AI Summit is coming next November to Columbus, Ohio. And the eye, the brain, and the the eye and the chip is coming to the Southfield Westin Hotel later this year, thanks to Henry Ford and Dr. Hesberg, who we had on the show a little while back. Those are the events. Send us more events to put on the list. We're trying to ramp that up so that in 2023, it covers most of the things that if you're interested in medical device and med tech development, that you'd be interested in seeing. We want to keep this really curated for the types of things that folks that are in our ecosystem are interested in. And we're doing our best to bring you that. Well, let's talk about the news. So, this week, FDA released their 2022 annual report. I've got a copy right here. There it is. Beautiful graphics. Love it. Wonder who did that. There's a bunch of things in it. We're going to show you the graphic here. This is what the front cover looks like. Yes, many things on that. Here are the contents. There's a message from Jeff Shuren, who's the Center Director for CDRH, the Center for Devices and Radiological Health. Then they have a By the Numbers segment, and we're going to talk to you about that. I think that's interesting. How many people work at CDRH? How many devices have they cleared? All the stuff. Then something about their pandemic response, what happened during COVID. A note about the Medical Device User Fee Act, what's coming there in MEDUFA 5. Stuff on device innovation, device safety, and looking ahead. So, first of all, the center director's message, and Jeff Shuren's on here. He's got his nice picture. Everybody around here knows that I'm a Jeff Shuren fanboy, so I've always appreciated his conscientiousness. And he says what they're going to be talking about in here, the staff working on a number of important issues in 2022. Some of the devices that he calls out are device areas of high interest. Pulse oximeters, device cybersecurity, AI, machine learning, better access to home use devices, and then ongoing device shortage and supply chain issues. Obviously, all things that the agency was focused on heavily in 2022. He also calls out the Total Product Lifecycle Advisory Program, and featuring heavily the CPAP and BiPAP ventilator recall by Philips, which, as he calls out, millions of impacted patients based on that polyester-based polyurethane foam degradation. So with that, here's the graphic that they have for CDRH, the Center for Devices and Radiological Health. By the numbers, if you're viewing online, you can follow along with me. But there are 2,011 people in the Center for Devices and Radiological Health. So when your nice little 510K or pre-sub goes in the door, they're not all looking at it, but that's how many people are behind that building, if you will. There are currently 238,000 regulated devices under CDRH. They've received 18,800 submissions, although they don't say in what time period that is. I'm wondering if that's just in calendar year 2022. In the U.S., there are 27,000 device manufacturing firms that CDRH has oversight over. And this year, they issued 57 guidances or revisions to guidances. They've granted 14 step requests, which is kind of like a breakthrough device pathway designation, but little lower burden. 19 submissions that were designated as breakthrough devices that received a marketing authorization. 84 novel devices received a marketing authorization. And I'm sorry if you weren't listed in there. I guess your device isn't novel. Is that how that works? That doesn't follow, but that's how they break it down.
That is a good question. What does it mean?
I know, right, Steve? What does it mean? I think that's some of the step and breakthrough things. I think that's what they're calling the novel devices there. But there were 135 submissions designated as breakthrough devices. So in there, they're trying to focus, and I think your question is appropriate, right? Because they're trying to focus on things that they can justify as not just being me too, because a 510K is really just me too. Let me through the door also. So that's cool. They've had a whole bunch of other stuff. You can see it on the list there. But They also mentioned that there were this is kind of answering your question, Steve. There are 765 medical devices authorized in 2022. Only 84 of those were considered novel by FDA standards. And there were 2,831 devices authorized to address the public health emergency. So remember all that work that FDA was doing to try to get devices through emergency use and everything? 2,831. That's impressive. So speaking of the pandemic response, supply chain shortages was a huge, huge issue. FDA says that CDRH dealt with 455 potential and actual shortages. They used CARES Act authorities to mitigate almost 350 of these. And they use tools like guidances, regulatory flexibilities, emergency use authorizations, conservation strategies. And I think, honestly, one of the good things to come out of this was the device shortage list that they issued, because now you can see within a select list of devices what FDA is really paying attention to and what might be running out. So that device shortages list, we reported on that a few months ago, but that's a cool thing. Monkeypox is on their list regarding pandemic response, the number of tests available for that. And as far as MEDUFA is concerned, the Medical Device User Fee Act, folks, this is shorthand for how you pay FDA for their services. Not everything is tax funded, some is user funded, and MEDUFA is how they get paid. And this, I think from the FDA's perspective, this is good because in the new MEDUFA, there's a new goal structure with opportunities for add-on payments. I guess that means you can pay them a base fee and then pay them more. Maybe that's not what we all want to do, but understanding that they don't know what they're getting into when they start working with you, that could actually be a good thing. Also, this creation of the Total Product Lifecycle TAP program, the Total Product Lifecycle Advisory Program, that is an acronym within an acronym. That's a 7-letter acronym nested once. I'm impressed. We need to do that with MedTech Crossroads, Steve. We got MTC. We just need another 4-letter acronym to dump on top of it.
I mean, how far can you recurse acronyms before it just becomes wrong?
We have a lot of university friends. I bet one of them could figure that out for us. I think that'd be phenomenal. Device innovators, they're working on medical device development tools. And honestly, I just want to mention this again, those medical device development tools, this is an opportunity for innovators. It's also an opportunity for our academic friends, because if you've got this little niche where you're good at something like biocompatibility or modeling or something like that, and you go, how is this ever going to make it into practice? Look at this medical device development tools program at FDA, because you might be able to validate something that's really simple, really, I don't want to say basic, but fits a niche, fits a need. And even though you're not going to, walk this down the road to some startup and commercialize it in this grand sense, you might be able to impact medical device development in the short term by validating a useful tool. I just think that's so cool. Device innovation breakthroughs. We mentioned this a minute ago, 135 breakthrough designations out of 150. I'm sorry, let me try that again. 135 breakthrough designations this last year, 135. There were 752 total breakthrough designations since the program started in 2015. And 19 devices made it through the program in 2022. There were also 14 step requests. Remember, if it's life-saving, life-sustaining, it can be breakthrough. If it's not, you might be eligible for step. 14 step requests were granted, and over 30 requests were received for inclusion into the step program. FDA has also put out the Customer Collaboration Portal, the CDRH Customer Collaboration Portal. And most of you working on products won't necessarily see that, but those of us who do regulatory work, that's a cool new tool for us to be able to go through that Customer Collaboration Portal. There's also the electronic submission template and resource called eStar, and that has not gotten such great reviews as of yet. A little bit too constrained, doesn't give you enough flexibility is what we've heard. So eStar still baking, but the Customer Collaboration Portal, a cool tool. If you're working with FDA, make sure that your regulatory folks know about that. We mentioned before the over-the-counter hearing aid final rule. That is so cool. So much room for innovation. Those don't need to be things that you only get through a practitioner. Over-the-counter hearing aids, now a thing. More innovation available. What about artificial intelligence and machine learning? Well, FDA says that they have approved 500 artificial intelligence and machine learning enabled medical devices over the last few years. And they're creating tools to allow us to figure out, is my tool regulated and how is it regulated? They have a final guidance clinical decision support software, and they have one called Digital Health Policy Navigator. We've showed you both of those on the show in 2022, so give us a buzz if you have any questions on how to find that. As always, if you have questions about any of this, you can reach us at info@intobeing.com, and we would just love to find those episodes for you. We're still working on indexing episodes, but we'd love to get information to you. Now, FDA says also, we're getting close to the end of this segment. FDA says that they are so proud, that sure is how it comes through, with device safety, and they got to show it this last year with the Philips Respironics recall. One of the things that they're pointing out and tooting their horn about is that when Philips made this recall, FDA determined that the notification efforts were inadequate. The foam started breaking down, and it just didn't, Philips didn't get on it hard enough, apparently, in FDA's eyes. And so, because serious injury was a possibility, they got on it, and they felt pretty good about their intervention efforts. Don't know how Philips felt, but hopefully that's all getting worked out. On the world of cybersecurity, FDA is issuing guidances. One of those, the draft guidance, cybersecurity and medical devices, quality system considerations, and content of pre-market submissions. That's been a good one to spend some time with. There are also the IMDRF Cybersecurity Working Group is releasing draft documents that FDA thinks are cool. One is Principles and Practices for the Cybersecurity of Legacy Medical Devices, and Principles and Practices for Software Bill of Materials and Medical Device Cybersecurity. How are you building your software bill of materials for your medical device for cybersecurity? That's a guidance you might want to check out. Material safety, health of women strategic plan, real-world evidence, real-world data. There's more in here that you can look at if you want, but just go to the FDA's website, fda.gov, navigate down to CDRH, Center for Devices and Radiological Health, or click on medical devices in one of their main drop-downs there, and you can find that too. It's exciting. So here we are in 2023, Medufa 5, off we go. Well, next up, and we're doing this a little differently because of our new use of audio, how we're going to be posting these things to podcasting platforms. So you're not going to see as many graphics, but I think a lot of times our graphics were just regurgitating what you could read if you wanted to pull up the document anyways. So we'll keep popping those graphics up as they become useful or necessary. But we're going to walk you through this. So we're going to talk about citizen petitions. Citizen petitions. People off the street. Well, maybe not. Device companies, corporations, groups of advocates, citizen advocates, going to FDA and saying, we think you should do something, FDA. It's cool that that's available. It's cool that that's publicly available. And these petitions are often petitions for rulemaking. Hey, FDA, we'd really like you to make a rule. I'm going to give an example of this before we talk about the one that I think some of you are here to hear about, because FDA did move cannabinoids, CBD oil, and other things. Why are we talking about that? Well, because MedTech is all-encompassing. It's holistic, right? If I can solve a problem with oil, I would rather not use a drug. And if I can solve it maybe with a device, well, maybe I would or wouldn't rather do that. I don't really want to cut my body open if I can do it with something simpler. So all of these things are related. And I think we're starting to recognize that as a society, and FDA is starting to recognize that. So the question of cannabinoids came up. But to illustrate this petitioning, that's how this rule came up, or how this rule is going to come up, I've got here a petition for the FDA from the Soft Lights Foundation. Soft Lights Foundation. That sounds pleasant. I don't know what to say about that. And the Soft Lights Foundation, it just sounds like mood lighting, doesn't it, Steve? I mean, like they want FDA to regulate mood lighting. That's what it seems like. They say, action requested. Petitioner requests that the commissioner issue, and then they tell them where they would like it to be in the regulation. 21 CFR Part 1040.41. Wow, that's awfully specific. Request that the commissioner issue 21 CFR Part 1040.41 to regulate electromagnetic radiation in the visible portion of the spectrum emitted by products that use light-emitting diodes that pulse, flash, or strobe. So they want the FDA to regulate light-emitting diodes that pulse, flash, or strobe. Now, actually, it's not as crazy as it sounds. That is a health concern because research has shown that strobing and flashing lights, I think a lot of us know this, especially with high intensity, they can set off epileptic seizures. Sometimes folks who have autism can respond to this. PTSD sufferers can struggle with this. Migraine headaches can be induced by this.
Yeah, the definition of strobing there could be interesting because where did you draw the line between strobing and a constant light?
That's a great question. What's the repeat rate? And Steve, honestly, I don't know where that one is. They've got pictures in here, of the. I don't think I've ever felt blinded by something printed on a piece of paper, but they got a picture in here of a flashing beacon, and that's where most of their attention is things but party lights, right?
Well, not even party lights, even room lights. Some people are bothered. Remember old flickery fluorescents?
Because of the 60 hertz.
The 60 hertz, yeah.
Yeah, that's an interesting point. I'm sure somewhere in here they talk about it. One of the things that they focus on is the intensity of the light. So they say that LED strobes can be as high as 100 million nits. That's a metric that I haven't spent a lot of time with. But they say that the maximum human comfort level is about 300 nits, and seizures can be induced as low as 20 nits. And so, to your point, Steve, what's the rate of repetition? How bright does it have to be? But bottom line, FDA is saying, okay, we need you to, I'm sorry, not FDA. This group is saying, FDA, please regulate this because it's a health concern. They go so far as to say, strobing and flashing lights, especially with such high intensity, puts both the public and first responders at risk of injury or death. Well, I guess so if you're driving and something happens. They go so far as to say LED strobe lights create discriminatory barriers for people with disabilities, such as those with epilepsy, autism, PTSD, and migraines. LED strobe lights violate basic civil rights such as the right of visual freedom. That's their argument. And so this citizen petition goes out there and they say, FDA, we want you to regulate this for the health of the population. And, it's fascinating. I'm just browsing through here and they don't talk about the repeat rate. So that's fascinating. But the strobe lights aren't our focus here. The focus is citizen petitions. This is a way that people can go in front of the FDA and say, we don't think this is being regulated enough or in the way that it should be regulated. So enter this. There's 3 of them actually, but I'm just going to refer to one of them. This is a citizen petition requesting FDA establish a regulatory pathway to legally market dietary supplements containing cannabidiol. I should have practiced pronouncing that. I had cannabinoids down, but cannabidiol, CBD, by issuing a regulation finding that the article, that is CBD, is lawful. So, the Consumer Healthcare Products Association says, we want you to make a rule that dietary supplements containing CBD should be lawful. Okay, I get it, right? Yeah. Cannabis is becoming more and more legal in different ways, and we should be able to make products derived from it, and we should be able to make them as dietary supplements. At the same time, they say we want current statutory requirements to be enforced through the new drug application approval process. So if you're making a drug claim, fine, keep that, but get us a better pathway for legally marketing dietary supplements containing CBD. And they go through a bunch of argument, most of which we don't care about today, but it's interesting. So number 1, you can see how a citizen petition can go to the government, what you can ask for, and then FDA comes back to it. Here's what FDA said. We're not going to read all of this. They said FDA is denying the petition in part and granting it in part. This is fascinating. What are they granting and what are they denying? In their actual letter back to each of the companies or groups is pretty long, and we won't dwell on it. But the FDA does note, before we go to the summary, FDA does note that the 2018 Farm Bill was what changed how cannabis is treated under the Controlled Substances Act. So hemp and hemp-derived things are no longer controlled substances, and so that's great. But they noted that it did not change, how hemp is regulated under the Food, Drug, and Cosmetic Act. Well, that's interesting. So that means we're in sort of this combined place where you have to think about all the different regulations, and they don't all agree. That's not good. But here's what FDA says. So their summary, they issued a constituent update, so you don't have to read each one of these responses to these 3 groups. FDA says that they've denied the requests in 3 citizen petitions from the Consumer Healthcare Products Association, the Council for Responsible Nutrition, and the Natural Products Association. The reason, why did FDA do this? The FDA responses explain that we do not intend to initiate such a rulemaking because in light of the available scientific evidence, it's not apparent how CBD products would meet the applicable safety standards for dietary supplements. So interesting. These companies said, make us a clearer pathway so that we can market CBD as a dietary supplement. And FDA said, we don't think CBD is a dietary supplement. Why did they say that? Well, they go on to mention that they're going to explore potential regulatory pathways for CBD products. And they say that they don't consider the existing dietary supplement and conventional food pathways to be appropriate for CBD. So they're going to make a completely new path, yes, but not within the dietary supplement category. Why is that? Well, Janet Woodcock, who is the principal deputy commissioner at FDA, says that the use of CBD raises various safety concerns, especially with long-term use. And under the law, any specific substance must meet specific safety standards to be lawfully marketed as a dietary supplement or a food additive. In other words, if you're going to call something a food additive or a dietary supplement, it's got to be pretty safe, and it doesn't have a lot of effects if we're going to say it's okay for that. Studies have shown the potential for harm to the liver, interactions with certain medications, and possible harm to the male reproductive system. CBD exposure is also concerning when it comes to certain vulnerable populations, such as children and those who are pregnant. So she goes on to say that they're going to look at this, but not rulemaking for dietary supplements or conventional foods. And this is kind of interesting because we were talking in the office, as we often do when we're mulling over what FDA has said and how it reflects on different parts of the world. We like to think very holistically. And one of our folks mentioned, but all sorts of food products have effects. All sorts of food products have side effects. Are we going to start now regulating other food products, not as food products, but as this quasi-drug? Are we going to create this intermediate class of things that have effects but have been available for years? Well, remains to be seen. But this is where FDA is going on cannabinoids, on CBD. They are going in the direction of denying that they are food additives or food products. And they are saying that they're not drugs, don't have to do a new drug application unless you have drug claims. But we're going to regulate them in a different way, and we're going to design that way. So, kind of crazy stuff. Okay, next up, we're going to move on. We've got two more things we're going to do today. I want to tell you about some GUDID, that's the UDI stuff. How many of those devices are out there? How many UDI codes have been made? Some really interesting graphs we're going to show you in a second. But first, I want to take you back to Dusseldorf, Germany. This is my interview with Maci Gilmore, who is with the MEDC. She's going to tell us about what goes into creating a trade show booth for an event like this, what sorts of things startups should be thinking about. If you're a startup that's thinking about marketing your product or service, I think you'll be interested in this because it's kind of a behind-the-scenes tour of what it takes practically to be at a trade show. And so for many of you, even if you never go on an MEDC trade mission, but you're thinking of marketing your product out there, I think you'll find this interesting. She takes us on a tour of the booth. Enjoy that, and then we'll come back with one more item after that.
Welcome back to MEDICA. I'm here with Maci Gilmore, who is a senior project specialist with MEDC's International Trade Program. And we're here at MEDICA, and this booth behind us is Maci's handiwork.
That's right.
It's an amazing, amazing space. We've gotten to meet so many people over these, what will be 4 days at MEDICA. But Maci, tell us, zoom in for us. Tell us about MEDC and take us all the way down to your role and what you do and how you create these amazing things.
Yes, so I am a part of the International Trade Program at the MEDC, which is the Michigan Economic Development Corporation, the state of Michigan's economic development agency, or advocate, as we like to say. We have teams that focus on helping communities grow. That could be in terms of facades, visual growth, financial growth, whatever they might need. We also have a team dedicated to travel. They're the Pure Michigan team, so they are trying to help our state grow in terms of visitors, also new residents that want to live and play in our beautiful state. And then we have a whole business team. So people that are dedicated to helping businesses find incentives and opportunities, site selection across the state, and then also export. So that's where our team comes in. The International Trade Program helps small to medium-sized businesses reach or grow within international markets.
Wow, so cool. And what is your role and in the program?
So I am a part of the operations team. My team members and I support 5 international trade managers that work in the field. They're the people that have the meetings with the companies, really identify the companies' needs, areas of growth in terms of succeeding in international markets. So I help supply marketing materials, communications, help social media. So just really however we can spread the word about our program more across the 83 counties in Michigan, as well as creating useful informational, resources that they can help, spread the word and help small businesses just tap into our services more. So we have a lot of services, a lot of free services that are subsidized by the MEDC, including international SEO. So, helping your company come up in search results in foreign markets, localizing your website, so having your website that's really, owned in that country, it lives on a server in that country, that's really important. And other services that include legal training. What do you need to consider when you're going to go to a trade show, maybe in terms of IP or international contracts. But there's a lot of assistance available, free subsidized assistance, so companies can learn about that more, tap into those services, use as many as they want, and hopefully help them grow their exports.
And this has been a phenomenal experience for us coming here, and all the lead up to this. The communication was just phenomenal. You guys were just letting us know, here's what needs to happen, here's what we need, here's when we need it, and it just became a really pleasant process to work through. But you've done this for a while now, and
that's right.
Take me through, if a company wants to participate in one of these trade missions, what should they be thinking about? What would be good for them to have on their minds? What are not to throw ourselves under the bus, but what are the common things that we as companies don't necessarily have all our act together where we could learn from you to say, if we want to participate in one of these,
in a trade show,
here's what should be on my mind.
Yeah, so one of our services, we lead companies to international trade shows, try to put them in front of the contacts that they need to have to do business internationally, meet potential buyers, partners, distributors, the like. But it's really good, as a company showing up to a trade show, have your marketing materials translated to the local language. I saw you have German on your imagery, so that's great.
I only got one correction, so we're doing pretty well.
That's a good best effort, and that's really what the local market likes to see, is that we're making a great effort. Also, know your pitch. Have an elevator pitch. Know that inside and out. If someone comes up, they have a lot of things that they're trying to do in a day, a lot of booths to visit, so they want to know what you do in a nutshell, have that down packed, and also just read through the exhibitor guide before the show. Know who you want to go talk to. Everyone gets busy, there's walk-ups, come up to the booth, meetings that happen, the day goes by really, really fast, and they might not come to you. You need to go to them.
Go find them. I found it really interesting too here with the language barriers, all sorts of different languages swirling around, like the brevity and precision of communication.
Yeah.
And knowing the industry standard terms that you're going to use that other people worldwide are gonna get.
That's right.
It wasn't part of my thinking before coming here.
Yeah, it is a little bit more than just conversational German. There's, we're at a medical trade show, so yeah, you're right. There's a technical element to it that I think would help companies. It helps it translate easier, get your message across if you know that.
Yeah. What's been your favorite part of this experience thus far?
I guess my place here is that I help pick the booth space, design the booth, make sure that the companies have all that they need within the booth, that it delivers for them in terms of facilitating productive meetings. So my favorite part is just seeing, people walk up to the booth, shake your hand, sit down, have a good meeting. Maybe it's a really qualified lead that you get to take away. That is what, this is all about, and that's what success looks like for me.
That's awesome. So now, if you're willing, we're going to do this live. I want you to take us on a tour of the booth and show us the different features of what we have here. We're getting to enjoy for these 4 days.
Absolutely. So this is the Michigan booth right here behind me. Lots of Michigan branding goes into this. We want to make this an inviting space for companies. They want to walk by and maybe ask some questions and be like, what is this? Where is this beautiful place? And is that where you do business? Is that where I could do business with you? So we have a private conference room. So this is where up to 6 people could engage in a meeting. companies can, use this space freely as they'd like, welcome customers or potential customers to the space and sit down and have a conversation. And then out front and center is all the company displays. So this is where people can stand, accept leads, hold meetings even at their kiosk, use their monitor there to display their products and talk about their demonstrations. Interbeing's kiosk right here, front and center, so that everyone can see as they walk up to the booth from this main aisleway, who is here and who they can talk to. And then in there we have a storage closet, so companies can refrigerate their food, their lunches, whatever, hang up their coats, their jackets, the like. There's electricity supply to all the kiosks, so we make sure people have electricity. They have a lockable cabinet. Just give them everything that they need to use this as a really efficient landing space so that they can just focus on doing business. And then right up front is the Michigan kiosk, I guess, the welcome kiosk, where we can stand and hopefully as people walk up looking for companies, we can direct them in the right direction, connect them. If they're looking for Into Being, I can meet with them here and then walk them over to Gene. So yeah, this is a booth that holds 6 companies, and different trade shows we hold up to 10 companies. So just across many industries. This is a medical trade show, so medical industry, but also defense trade shows and Industry 4.0, just really the big sectors in Michigan, the companies that really are making a splash in our state.
Well, it's been so impressive. It's a beautiful booth, beautiful trade show. The volume of people coming through, I don't think I was prepared for it. Do we know how many people at the trade show?
I think there's usually 200,000 people that attend this show. We don't have the numbers yet for this year, but I mean, the largest medical trade show in the world, that really says something.
Yeah, it's amazing. Well, Maci, thank you for all you do here. It's been such an amazing effort for any companies that are interested in doing this kind of thing. I highly recommend it.
Yes, absolutely. They can visit michiganbusiness.org. We have a whole page on international trade. There's a form to get into our system where someone will reach out to you and schedule a meeting to sit down and really understand your needs so that you can start your exporting journey with MEDC.
Thanks, Maci.
Thank you.
So there, another update from MEDICA. We sure had a good time in Dusseldorf, Germany, and it was a beautiful, beautiful facility. Not extravagant. It was exactly what was needed to meet with people, to have a space to sit somebody down, talk for 20 minutes, tell them about what was happening. And it's so fun to see the different partners in the ecosystem there being able to just refer to each other. If you stepped out of the booth, your friends from in the state would, the company next door would say, "Hey, here's a business card." So a very cool experience. Steve, I think I made a strategic blunder though, because in that last frame, I don't know if there's any way to bring it back up. I'm standing there next to Maci, and there it is, and we're both standing right in front of the Virginia booth. Like, this is not the best shot that I could have picked to show off the MEDC's booth there, but hopefully we'll be forgiven for that. So that was a great event, and there are more of those coming up. MD&M is a similar kind of a trade mission. I think MEDICA is happening next year. There's all sorts of other ones, and the state of Michigan is taking a deep interest in connecting people within the MedTech ecosystem. So really cool to watch that. Hey, I want to tell you about this. The UDI rule was out there, took a little while to get implemented. Basically, we're going to barcode every single medical device. Okay, that's probably good for traceability so that you can find out which device that was used on you that maybe didn't work. This has happened to folks that we know. Can be traced back to where it was manufactured. Lot number, facility, manufacturing date, et cetera, et cetera. Very good stuff. FDA's Global Unique Device Identification Database contains records submitted by medical device labelers in accordance with the UDI rule. As of 2019, GUDID contained over 2 million records. And we've got up here on the screen, I tried to look down on my little screen, can't even see it. It looks like now we are, by September of 2023, up at about 4 million records and compliances. So that number is growing very dramatically. Companies, new companies per month getting added to the GUDID database. Current as of January 10th. We're up in the, I don't know, I want to say 200 new companies per month entering that database. So this is getting implemented. It's definitely picking up steam. And you say to yourself, what, you mean you didn't barcode devices before? And the answer is kind of, yeah, like UPC codes or things that could be looked up more universally. That's kind of what UDI is. So it's not a bad thing. There was some wrestling with how it would be implemented. But most GUDID records are class 2. About 32% are associated with implantable devices. Non-implantable still higher, obviously. Most in orthopedic, nearly 30% orthopedic. Next up, general and plastic surgery, dental, cardiovascular, general hospital, and so on. Of course, those are the FDA panels that devices are classified under, so it's a convenient way to look at the UDI compliance. We're not saying that people in pathology are not compliant. We're just saying that not as many products are getting issued there, most likely. Product code terms. Wow, this is an eye chart. I think it's meant to be artistic, this from FDA. Looking at numbers like cardiovascular, 57,000. Oh, but prosthesis, look at that. 359,000. Implants, 138,000. A bunch of things there. So that is interesting because it gives you a little bit of a sense as to what's popular by looking at UDI categories. Labelers, countries that put things into UDI, 6,000 in the United States. Next biggest, is this a big surprise? Next biggest is China, 914. Coming down from there, Germany, 484, and going down the list from there. So that's a little bit on the GUDID database. We are now barcoding medical devices. If you're developing a medical device, don't forget you have to do that, right? 2 of the latest things that folks may not be thinking about, let me say 3. UDI, cybersecurity, right? Cybersecurity requirements around your device, as well as changes in the last few years to biocompatibility. Now you have to do a BRA, a biological risk assessment. So the basic process there has changed. If you have any questions about that, you can always reach out to us, info@ntubing.com. Look at past episodes of MedTech Crossroads, or ask a question right here on the show. We've got a few minutes left. If you have a particular comment or question, I don't know if we're capable of patching you through live, but you can certainly type it into the chat box. You might be able to go live. Steve will tell me on that. But if you have an event you want to tell us about that needs to go on the calendar, tell us. We'd love to hear from you. If your organization's doing something cool, tell us. We'd love to hear about it. Maybe we'll even interview you at some point. Oh, we could take live guests. That'd be fun. If anyone wants to tell us anything. So raise your hand if you would like to hear from us, or if you, let me try that again. If you would like us to hear from you, feel free to raise your hand in the thing or type something into chat. We'll give a few more minutes for that. And we'll let you know as soon as these start hanging on the podcasting platforms, Spotify, Apple, and others. We'll be getting those going. We will go back to previous episodes. Indexing is still a big need here at MedTech Crossroads, and we're going to get some of these indexed so that, I was just telling somebody earlier today, like if you say VC funding, I want every interview that we've ever done with a VC to pop up here. If you say 510K, I want everything we've ever talked about 510Ks to pop up here. We're going to start working on that because as we go forward, that's where the real power of our community comes in. It's not just me sitting here talking. I think a lot of times we got cool things to say, but a lot of these times we've brought people on. We want to be able to get back to that so that you can do not in 130 hours, but in maybe half an hour, you can hear a lot on a topic that you wouldn't hear anywhere else. So that's what we're going to be working on. Well, with that, I want to thank you. We do have one more MEDICA video next week. We'll look forward to sharing that with you. And look forward to seeing you back here on MedTech Crossroads next Friday, 2 p.m. Talk soon.